Burkes of Castlebar made their first appearance of the year yesterday in court. And there's an interesting and very entertaining piece by Miriam Lord in the Irish Times there this morning. But basically she's explaining or describing the situation where 4 members of the Burke family were in the Ashling Hotel in Dublin 8. Ashling Hotel is close enough to the CCJ, that's the Court of Criminal Justice. This is a Court of Appeal hearing. The Court of Appeal hearing is an application to do with GSOC, and the application by GSOC for the ambient recording of an occasion when there was a disruption, to put it mildly, by the Burkes in the Court of Appeal, where some members or all members of the family were forcibly removed by the Gardaí. GSOC then received complaints from some of the Burkes about the Gardaí, and GSOC now, in investigating those complaints, are looking for the ambient recordings of the court that day to see exactly or to give them some assistance with their investigation. The Court of Appeal, though, wrote to the Burkes apparently in the last couple of months and said to them that they would have to give an undertaking to the Court of Appeal in respect of their behaviour, and not to disrupt the court proceedings, and not to shout over the judge and so on, and generally misbehave. So they were being asked to give an undertaking. So you had the Kafkaesque sort of scenario, the Joseph Heller catch-22 scenario of Martina Burke, Amy Burke, Isaac Burke and Sean Burke down in the Ashling Hotel in Dublin 8, going in by video link to the Court of Appeal, being beamed in. Each of them in turn were being asked to give an undertaking to behave themselves basically in the Court of Appeal, and if they did give an undertaking, well, then they would be able to attend physically. However, none of them were able to give the undertaking, and so they were excluded. They went then from the Ashling Hotel down the quays a little bit, hadn't got very far to go. They had the placards ready, and they were then parked outside the CCJ protesting, holding placards and so on. So Miriam Lord does a very good job of describing the whole scenario, and it really sounds like something out of Father Ted. But Enoch Burke then, he was participating in the hearing, but of course he was participating by video link from Mountjoy Jail. And the high point, or one of the most amusing points that I saw in it, when the judge was, Enoch Burke was speaking, he said that I respect law and order, I've been raised to do so, said the man in jail for defying a court order, according to Miriam Lord. So here's Enoch Burke telling the judge, Mr. Justice John Edwards, that he respects law and order, he's been raised to do so, but he's making that statement by video link from Mountjoy, having been incarcerated there for something like 283 days. So this was the Burkes' first big outing of the year. It was their first appearance in court, but it was virtual, and as I say, 4 of them were holed up in the Ashling Hotel, and one of them was being video linked in from Mountjoy Prison. The 3 judges were sitting in an application by GSOC for recordings, the ambient recordings of what went on in the Court of Appeal that day. Enoch Burke is in jail for 283 days. The Ashling 4, as it were, as Miriam Lord describes them, the 4 Burkes were barred from the hearing due to what Mr. Justice John Edwards described as their, quote, track record when it comes to disruptive court behaviour. So the GSOC application then, the substantive matter, it couldn't happen until an application by the video-linked Burkes were to have the exclusion or overturned was heard first. So the Burkes were excluded, but they made an application by video link to have the courtroom exclusion overturned, and that had to be heard first. The judge in each case went through the 4 Burkes, and none of them were able to give an application or give an undertaking to not disrupt the court, etc., etc. So the judge took it that it was the judge took it as a refusal to give the undertaking. Enoch Burke, coincidentally, was given the opportunity to attend physically and not by video link if he gave an undertaking. And Mr. Justice John Edwards said, we're not satisfied, we got sufficient commitment from you. So Enoch Burke was left in Mountjoy prison, and that's where he participated in the hearing from. When Martina Burke was given the opportunity then, she began to, well, according to Miriam Lord, she launched into a rant about how Leo Varadkar appointed former Attorney General Mary Whelan to the Court of Appeal. And you know that was cronyism. She fumed at Justice Judge Edwards. So he says, we'll take that as a nod then, that her mic was muted. Next up was Isaac, and it was the same sort of stuff. Amy Burke then, she's a qualified solicitor, as we know. You've no right to make a false statement about Isaac Burke. She quivered, etc., etc. Judge McCarthy raised his head and closed his eyes. Judge Burns remained expressionless, and Amy's link went mute. That's the video link. Now, as it happens, the screen had frozen apparently on her video link. She accused the judge of turning it off, but he says it wasn't. He said no, you weren't cut off. Amy Burke argued then that the court was breaching the law by restricting members of the public from attending. But the judge countered that it was 4 named persons and the members of the public were not restricted from attending the Court of Appeal hearing. She said, well, I'm a member of the public, and she was told she'd be let back in if she gave an assurance not to interrupt. She questioned the judge's jurisdiction in the matter. Do I take that as a no? He said. So the Ashling 4, that is the 4 Burkes, quickly left the hotel, legged it up the road to Parkgate Street, held a protest outside the Criminal Courts of Justice, standing on the curb, holding up placards for passing motorists. And the image that comes to mind is the Father Ted scene, where there is some sort of a protest, and I think Dougal is there with a placard up, down with this sort of thing. That's the sort of image that pops into your head when you read Miriam Lord's piece in the Irish Times, and as she says at the very end, just another day on the Burke family roadshow. So where the car that the Burke roadshow goes next remains to be seen. That's what happened yesterday at the Court of Appeal. Application by GSOC to get the ambient recordings into a previous Court of Appeal hearing where Burkes were forcibly removed by the Gardaí, and then, as I say, complaints made by certain Burke members of the Burke family against certain Gardaí, and then GSOC in investigating that those complaints, looking for the ambient recordings, because clearly the ambient recordings would be of assistance to the investigation, and it's going to either support the guards' contention in what they did and justify what they did on the day, or it's going to find against them. But Enoch Burke is opposing the application by GSOC to get the ambient recordings. Hope you find the video useful and informative, etc., etc. That's a funny piece, I thought. Very January cold morning, and just gave me a laugh there this morning.